World of Horror, currently in early access on Steam, is a game unlike any other. And because it's in early access, I don't want anybody to give this video the same weight you would give a review. I just want to take a little time to share something neat with you guys, and maybe if you like what you see, you can keep your eye on it going forward. Polish director and dentist, yes, dentist, Paweł Kosminski, or, Paweł? I'm not too sure, I'm not Swedish, describes the game as a roguelite RPG horror, which calls upon the works of H.P. Lovecraft and Junji Ito, the famed horror manga artist and fellow H.P. Lovecraft enthusiast. It's this Junji Ito-inspired visual style recreated in a monochromatic 1-bit using MS Paint as its canvas that immediately pulled my attention to the game. And it's all rather fitting that so much of this game is inspired by Ito's work as well, as the game's director seems to be living something of a similar life to Ito's, as Ito himself was working in a dentist's office when he first started penning his drafts for Tomie and getting more serious about his potential as an artist. Though working with different mediums, it seems the two artists are following a similar career trajectory, and it's not a trajectory you come across very often. World of Horror as a game has a couple game modes, like quick play, custom matches, story mode, and mod support as well, which is rather surprising to see in a game of this sort and so early in development. But we're mainly going to be looking at the story mode here today. Besides, quick play and custom matches work similar to the main story mode, only giving you more control over who your player character is and what mysteries you'll be looking to solve. Basically, we play as a young girl in the town of Shiokawa. The old gods, Lovecraftian overlords of sorts, hold influence over the town, and their power has been the cause of all manner of strange occurrences. We, as the player character, set out to solve a number of mysteries that have arose in the wake of their descent, and in doing so, we hope to find enough keys to unlock the door to the town's dark and towering lighthouse, where it is believed the power of the old gods had first originated and where it continues to spill through. These mysteries can be solved in any order you wish, but one may need to plan strategically, as the old gods' influence will continue to grow as you progress, worsening your stats, giving you random afflictions and curses which alter the appearance of your player character, and driving up the rate of the random encounters. The more mistakes you make along the way, the worse the old god's influence will become, and if it maxes out, you'll be looking at a pretty horrific end to your journey and the town of Shiokawa. Which isn't altogether a bad thing, as there's some cool art and ideas to accompany the bad endings, some pretty dark and morbid things. The gameplay itself works very akin to an old tabletop RPG, mixed with elements of point-and-click adventure games or even the text-based adventures of old. We have a player spec sheet, inventory equip menus, and a proper XP and leveling system. While on an investigation, the exploration mechanics are rather rudimentary, often just giving you a choice between two options, which will or will not see a random encounter along the way. For instance, in the mystery of the Scissor Woman, you'll likely just be clicking the Explore School button over and over again, until the game randomly tells you that you found everything you need. However, there's a high chance you're going to run into a handful of foes or unique events along the way that you'll need to roll stat checks to pass safely. Sometimes these events is just coming across strange artifacts that need you to examine it, in true D&D fashion utilizing your unique character skills. Other times the events are full-on battles. Though turn-based, the battle system does use time as a mechanic. Basically, on your turn you select moves at a cost to time until the time bar is filled. Then you watch as your selection unfolds, and the effect is largely telegraphed to you in the text box below. Combat often involves a small degree of both strategy and luck, as RNG will not always be in your favor. You have the choice between quick or slow attacks with varying rates of accuracy at different costs of time. Other moves can be used to increase the damage or accuracy of the next chosen attack, also at a further cost to time. Provided you unlocked some, there are also spells and rituals that you can perform to attack your enemy, buff yourself, or replenish some stats. For all intents and purposes, this is a pretty traditional RPG. After enough battles, you'll level up and get new skills and get to control your stat increases, and hell, you can even head to town to recruit new party members or visit shops, buy items from a dog, or further research your case. For an early access title, it's quite commendable so far, but that's not to say that I don't have some issues at its current state. Combat is a little underwhelming, but I feel as it gets fleshed out more and balance is tweaked more, it'll be more interesting. Maybe if they change how the attacks are conveyed to the player too, it can feel more engaging, either by using more animations or a separate text box somewhere more front and center to the player's attention. Because it's still in development, the save system is not fully hammered out, causing many of your stats and abilities to be re-rolled upon loading. I have faith this will be addressed fairly quickly, as development has been going at a very promising rate. For its price, the 3 to 4 hour runtime of the main story is fairly short, though the random nature of the encounters does help add some freshness to subsequent playthroughs. But this random nature to things is also where my biggest problem comes in. Everything does feel just random. The encounters often feel like they have nothing to do with the mystery you're investigating, and how you gain the information you need to progress feels as if the game just gives it to you when enough time has passed. Sometimes it feels like you haven't even been given any information, you're just told that you have been. Most cases have multiple ends, and it's possible that the routes just aren't finished, and it will be fleshed out more later. But as it is, playing can be somewhat confounding if you want to actually keep up with a mystery. In this regard, I feel there's two ways to help things out. One, rather than just clicking next to progress, give the player more ability to explore and properly find the things they're looking for on their own. One of the mysteries had you clicking through little blocks on the map to explore the woods, and that was a step in the right direction, but not quite a step far enough. And two, give more time for the plot to breathe. When information is unfolding, feel free to stop the action for a bit. Spell things out for the player more, make some small visual novel sections or something to convey the important details with. The biggest plot issues I had are issues I would also extend to Junji Ito himself though. Junji Ito is a wonderfully imaginative and macabre artist, but he's not exactly a great storyteller, with many of his stories just starting and just kind of ending. Motivations are usually lacking, and his characters are typically just vessels for the imagery and weird ideas he wants to get across. But there's very little in regards to strong overarching plots or narratives. It's typically only a loose theme or idea that ties many of his larger works together, which, like World of Horror, can make a lot of it feel more random than one may really be ready for. In regards to Junji Ito's work as well, it's very clear Powell has taken no small amount of inspiration from the Uzumaki series of stories, as the town, the lighthouse, and the seemingly random nature of the strange occurrences and Lovecraftian imagery are all present here as well. With Uzumaki though, there is the pattern or mystery of the spiral, which works as a little more of a through point connecting the various incidents in the town together. No matter how random and different the story or a chapter seemed from everything else around it, in Uzumaki, the spiral was always present. With World of Horror, there is no visual cue to tie it all together, just the understanding that there's an evil force at work that works in all manner of odd ways. The inspiration comes from more than just Uzumaki though. Powell is a big fan of Ito's work, and this shows in some of the smaller things as well. I mentioned that throughout the game, your player character can take on curses, blights, and afflictions, and one such blight sees you develop large holes in your skin, an idea seen in Junji Ito's short, Shiver. These references for some people might toe a bit of a line of feeling derivative at times, but at the same time, this is the only game that I know that plays with these ideas, this visual style, and the form of gameplay that it does. So it's hard to complain too much when it's trying its best to break previously unbroken grounds, not just in the world of horror, but in the world of horror video games. But in the interest of complete fairness, though I may have wanted a stronger narrative focus, I wouldn't say that that was exactly a fair complaint or criticism either. World of Horror as a game set out to work more like a tabletop game where events are called upon, as if taking a random card from a stack. Though some work still needs to be done, it's almost entirely what it's setting out to be. And honestly, even if that's not entirely for me, that's just fine. I jumped into this because I was attracted by its look, and I'm not at all disappointed by it in that department. Thankfully, its sound and music supports it well too. This is, in every way, a relic of a past that never existed, but for all intents and purposes, should have. It's coming along very well so far, and it's definitely worth keeping an eye on if you like what you've seen already. But at this point, that's where I'm going to be leaving it. This dentist turned video game designer and artist inspired by a dentist office worker turned horror manga artist is onto something pretty cool, and I for one don't want to miss out on where it ends up. And that's all I'm going to be saying on World of Horror today, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys like the video, you know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, and share the video if you can. Links to all my socials and the Patreon support page are in the description below, and as always folks, thanks for watching.